Hello, beloved. Today we're going to do some sacred reading. Now, you might remember that last week we finished off the first letter of John, chapters 1 through 5. That was the end of that. And I asked if anyone had any particular requests, and I received two, actually, from the same person. One was the prophet, the request for the prophet Micah, and one was for the writing of the book of Ruth. And having thought about it, sat with it for a while, I decided I could eventually do both of them. So why not start with Ruth? So today we're going to do sacred reading from the book that's in Hebrew scripture, chapter 1, verses 1 and 2 of the book of Ruth. Now, if you don't know what sacred reading is, if you've just decided to start us now that we're doing a new book, a new sacred text, here's a little bit about what sacred reading is. We take a text, we enter into the text with the expectation that Spirit will speak into our lives right now what we need to hear. There may be a word, an image, a phrase that comes from the text itself that speaks to us. And it's not the same as Bible study, which is digging in fairly deeply, understanding what all the words mean and those kinds of things. Although with sacred reading, also known as Lectio Divina, you may seek the answers to some of those kinds of questions if you wish as a part of the sacred reading journey. But what we're looking for today is just a word, image, or phrase that might rise for us as we listen to the text. So I'm going to read it to you just once. If you choose to do sacred reading on your own, which I encourage, I do it on my own and really enjoy it. But if you're going to do sacred reading on your own, my suggestion would be that you pick a text, whatever it is. It could be the same one we're working through here, or it could be another one, and read it through in short snippets, and read it aloud to yourself. For each moment that you're going to read it 3 times aloud. That way you get the vibration of your body, the vibration of your vocal cords. You hear it with your ears, not just see it with your eyes. It involves your whole body. It involves all of you to receive the text. And since all of the biblical texts were originally, all of the sacred texts, in fact, were generally spoken aloud first and heard for their power, I think it's always a good idea to speak those words aloud. But you do you, and do it the way you wish, but that's the way I do it when I do it by myself. Today, I'm just going to read it one time for you. Pause. You can stop the recording if you want to, or you can stay and I'll share with you what sticks out to me about the text, what speaks to me about the text. This is the very beginning, sort of introductory material at the beginning of the book of Ruth. Listen with me for a word from Spirit. Long ago, when judges governed Israel, a famine swept over the land. So a family from the town of Bethlehem in Judah, a woman and a man and their 2 children, emigrated to the region of Moab. The man was named Elimelech, the woman's name was Naomi, and their 2 sons were named Mahlon and Chilion. They were Ephrathites, that is, from Bethlehem of Judah. They arrived in the land of Moab and settled there. As I listen to the text, first thing I hear is the quality of this story that it's not dateable. That is, can't say exactly when this happened. There was a famine, and the text itself begins long ago. And it was long enough ago that Israel was governed by judges, not by kings or anyone else. Now, if this were a Bible study, I would tell you about what judges are and who they are and what they do. If you want to look that up, I encourage you to. I don't know if that helps. What I heard was a basic story of a family that faced a challenge where they were and determined that the best thing they could do because of the challenge of where they were was to go somewhere else. And so they made a journey to another place and settled there. We live in a world that seems a lot more mobile than when I was a young man growing up. That is to say, people move for jobs, travel for jobs, and go a lot more places, a lot further distance, a lot farther afield than even when I was just growing up, when people tended to stay closer to home. And before that, they definitely did. So this idea of moving around is not alien. I have family members that live in different parts of this country. I have friends who've moved all over the place, but especially younger generations of people I know seem very, very mobile. And they go to different destinations with the hope and anticipation that there will be something there. Something is missing here, and something is hoped for there. Now, unlike that old adage that grass is always greener on the other side, this isn't about someone who has grass and wants more grass or greener grass somewhere else. It's someone who is starving and whose family is starving and is looking for a place. As I listen to this text, it's about what does it take to live, and what are we willing to do to sustain ourselves and those we love? What do we do when we face the tough challenges, the really tough challenges like the lack of food, not the challenges like, oh, the internet's down, or, oh, my favorite television program is not on, or they're not streaming the new show that I want to see for another whole week. There's a lot of things that we think of as threatening sometimes, but this was a real threat to life. And because of it, Elimelech and his wife, Naomi, chose to move themselves and their two sons to another place with hopes that things there would be better. I think we make choices in our lives. They're about our lives. And while I noted the mobility of younger generations, it's not just the mobility of younger generations. It is that we seek life where it may be found. And if it is no longer in the place we are, we absent ourselves from this space and move on to a new space. We go searching, seeking. I am a seeker by nature. It's a part of me that is always seeking for truth, for echoes of truth in sacred texts, in nature, in conversations where I find myself listening to others, some struggling, some celebrating, some in between. that we are all seeking life. This is a story of, it begins with a family seeking life. And I think that we're all seeking that life. So what are you doing that is life-giving, that you are seeking, where you are seeking life? What is it that you're about seeking life? Is it that where you are, whether it's a physical location, a mental location, emotional location, a spiritual location, probably it's a combination of all of those I listed, because you're a whole person. Is there a part of you that is not yet in a place that will give you life? Am I in a place that does not give me life? And what and where will I go and settle that might offer me life? It's a challenge to my having stayed in one place. I don't know. I'm not sure. I do know that the text is inviting me to pray and to think about it. Maybe it'll do the same for you. Well, those are my reflections. We'll be reading through the book of Ruth next week, picking up with the next verse, verse 3. So I invite you to do Lectio Divina, sacred reading on your own whenever you feel like it. It's a good spiritual challenge. And until the next time I see you, remember, no matter what, you are infinitely precious and unconditionally loved for the gift you already are. Until then.